The JBL PartyBox 300 is a beast of a speaker. It's battery powered and it has a really good looking built-in light feature. But when it comes to price, the PartyBox 300 actually retails for the same price as the JBL Boombox. Now obviously you might be tempted to go with the PartyBox because it's bigger and it has that built-in light feature. But depending on what you plan on doing with your speaker, you might be better off with the Boombox. So let's see which one's right for you. So first off, let's go over pricing. Both the PartyBox 300 and JBL Boombox retail for $500. But the Boombox routinely goes on sale, and also keep in mind there are smaller and cheaper PartyBoxes to choose from. But regardless, if you want to pick any of these speakers up, they'll be linked down below. But now let's go over the designs of these speakers. The Boombox is basically just a larger version of the Extreme 2, but just with a built-in carrying handle. It's significantly smaller and lighter than the PartyBox, weighing in at 11.5 pounds, making it way easier to carry around compared to the PartyBox, which weighs in at 35 pounds. So if you're looking for a speaker to constantly take on the go with you or to use at, let's say, your next camping trip, you're going to be better off with the Boombox, not just because it's significantly more portable, but also because it's way more durable. The Boombox has a mostly fabric body which doesn't scratch easily, and it's also IPX7 waterproof. Whereas the PartyBox isn't waterproof, and due to its mostly plastic body, this speaker can get scratched very easily. So due to its sheer weight and not so durable body, the PartyBox would be my first choice if I was looking for something super portable. You can certainly take it places thanks to its built-in battery, but it is a hassle. But what the PartyBox lacks in portability and durability, it makes up for in looks. Mainly because the speaker has a built-in light feature. Now this built-in light feature is actually very vibrant and you can easily see it during the daytime. And personally, I think this light feature looks way better than any of the other light features found on Sony's similar speakers. Now when it comes to battery life, the Boombox has an advertised battery life of 24 hours and the PartyBox has an advertised battery life of 18 hours. But those numbers are for when these speakers are playing at around 50% volume. If you're using these speakers at around 80 or maximum volume, which is what I expect you'll be using them for, the Boombox has a real-world battery life of around 8 to 10 hours, whereas the PartyBox has a battery life of around 4 hours if you have bass boost on this speaker. You can always stretch the speaker's battery out a little longer if you turn off the bass boost on the speaker, but nonetheless, if you need something with a longer battery life, then you might be better off with the Boombox. But also keep in mind, the PartyBox also comes included with a car charger, so if you're crazy enough to lug the speaker out into the woods or something, and if you run out of battery, then you can always power the speaker with your car, which personally I think is a pretty nice touch on JBL's part. But now let's talk about listening to music with these speakers. First off, both of these speakers have identical sound signatures. They both put an emphasis on mids and vocals so that they don't get overpowered by the bass. They even have the same amount of instrument separation and the same type of soundstage. Even the smaller Extreme 2 sounds the same as these two speakers, except it doesn't get as loud or have as much bass. But so that you can see for yourself, we're going to jump into a sound test. Like you may have just heard, all three of these JBL speakers sound basically identical, which isn't surprising at all. So the main difference between these three speakers is how loud they can actually get and the amount of physical bass they have. Now the PartyBox has way more physical bass than the JBL Boombox. But surprisingly, it doesn't get all that much louder than the Boombox. So to my surprise, the Boombox actually does a really good job of keeping up with the PartyBox given its size. But don't get me wrong, the PartyBox gets plenty loud, but the major differentiating factor between these two speakers is going to be the amount of physical bass, because the Boombox isn't all that far off from the PartyBox when it comes to max loudness. But finally, let's talk about connectivity. Both of these speakers are using Bluetooth 4.2, and they can both be connected to two devices at the same time, so you and a friend can both be DJing. But if you want, you can use a wired connection with either of these speakers because they both have an aux jack. Something that I know sounds simple, but I still gotta point it out because some speakers are starting to get rid of their aux jack, which I personally think is very stupid. Both of these speakers also have USB-A out ports so you can charge your own devices, but you can only play music through a thumb drive on the PartyBox. The USB-A out port on the Boombox is strictly used for charging your phone. Also, only the PartyBox has a mic and guitar input, so you can hook either of those things up to the speaker, and only the PartyBox has a pair of RCA outputs and inputs, so you can either hook this speaker up to a receiver, or you can hook this speaker up to another speaker. But the Boombox has JBL Connect Plus, so you can wirelessly pair this speaker up to other JBL Connect Plus enabled speaker. Whereas with the PartyBox, you can only wirelessly pair it up to one other PartyBox. But keep in mind, the JBL Boombox is using JBL Connect Plus, so you can only pair it up to other JBL Connect Plus speakers like the JBL Flip 4, Charge 3, Charge 4, Pulse 3, or the JBL Extreme 2. You can't pair it up to newer JBL speakers using Party Boost like the JBL Flip 5, JBL Pulse 4, or the soon-to-be-released JBL Boombox 2. But overall, if you're trying to choose between getting a PartyBox or a Boombox, the main question you gotta ask yourself is how portable do you need your speaker to be? If you're looking for a speaker that you plan on constantly taking somewhere, then you'll definitely be better off just getting the Boombox because it's significantly way more portable and durable. And not to mention, it has a way better battery life. And it surprisingly keeps up very well with the PartyBox when it comes to sound. But if you don't plan on moving your speaker around too much, maybe it's a speaker that you're mainly going to keep in your man cave, then the better investment here is definitely the PartyBox because of all of the extra bass and the light feature. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. If you want to pick any of the products up mentioned in this video, those will be linked in the description down below, and you can also support the channel by checking out the merch store. But other than that, I'll catch you next time.